we get kind of into the heavy of it, let's go over some wins. If anybody is feeling brave or just really proud of where their business is at currently, I'd love for you to just unmute and share wins if we got any.
Carrie, I see you've got a family operation over there. What's
there we go.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
One took off.
Oh.
Can you hear us or no?
Yeah,
Yep.
we can hear
We
you.
can hear you.
We can hear you.
Well, one just took off. I'm over here. Hi. And then Andy.
Yeah, Matthew and Andrew with us today. And then Nicholas is Nick is with us on another call here.
Oh, there we
Nice.
go. Cool. Nice. We got the whole team here on the call. That's awesome.
Just the most important people.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I bet I poke on you because I saw the whole family, but I bet you guys have some wins to talk about from the past couple weeks with your business.
Well,
Big
Andrew
D.
said he didn't break a slab, so that was just before he got.
No absolute terrible disasters this week so far, so that's a win.
Hey, that is a win. No disasters. Woo!
Yeah. We got to celebrate those wins sometimes, large and small.
Well, I've got a win. I don't see Fabio here at the moment, but Fabio with Grand Finish Remodeling texted me yesterday. We just put his site live, I think on Tuesday afternoon. And then Wednesday, he already got his first lead from the website to be able to start tracking down some work. So
Oh,
launched and ready to go.
Come
Love that.
on.
now that's nice. Now, Bryce, was he getting leads from a website before?
I actually didn't ask that question, so I will.
Well, he'll get some better leads from this website.
Okay, well, any last minute wins here before we get this show on the road?
I don't know if it's a win, but this is all leads that I never ran, that I calculated yesterday from last September. So at least I'm aware of that they're there and I can do something about it. It's not great at all, but it's good.
No, it's good. No, I literally had a meeting with a client yesterday where we were identifying, some issues here. We were identifying that, we have a little bit of a profitability issue and we have a lot of leads coming in, but we're trying to quote everybody instead of focusing on the ones that we should that are going to be profitable, that we really want to do work on. And during that meeting, we are identifying a lot of issues. And I was like, hey, I know that this feels like we may be going backwards instead of forwards, but we have to identify the issue in order to solve the problem. And so you're actually making progress, because the alternative would have been to just continue doing things the way you've always done them. And that's not getting you to where you're trying to go. And so I love that win, because it is a win. You're identifying a problem and we're solving it. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us. Okay, well, we've got a lot on the agenda today. And so Harley, if you want to go ahead and start this presentation here, and then we'll move on to breakout groups afterwards.
All righty. Well, let's get into a great topic here, a topic that some people don't feel so greatly about and don't really like it a lot, because it has to do with tracking and numbers and keeping people accountable, which is not always fun for people. But getting good at this topic about the importance of KPIs, key performance indicators, and lead tracking helps you as a business owner actually know that things are really going well in your business. And a good quote to start with here comes from a guy named Tillman Fertitta. He's a very accomplished business owner, multi-billionaire guy who owns the Houston Rockets, Landry's Inc., which is a conglomerate group that owns tons of different restaurants like Bubba Gump Shrimp. And he was also a star of an NBC show, Billion Dollar Buyer, that ran for 3 seasons. But he was asked by an interviewer one time, what is one of the biggest things that he sees from small business owners or business owners that really annoys him, really frustrates him. And what he talks about here is he says, I ask people what they do in sales, how much money they made last year, what their cost of sales is, and they don't even know. If you don't know your numbers, in his mind, you're going out of business. I don't care how good your product is. And the key lesson from this guy is he's a guy that owns a ton of really great products. I mean, his main line of work is restaurants, which is the quality of a product that he sells. But in his mind, if he's not able to know at a real high level what his numbers are and how well his team is performing, then he can't accurately say how good things are going. And he doesn't know whether he's going to stay in business or not. And so I'd like to take this quote and really dive into the importance of why knowing your KPIs and lead tracking and numbers is important, because you don't truly know how well your business is doing if you don't track your numbers. And so when should you track? You might ask yourself this because you've been a business owner for several years now and you've been keeping the ship afloat. Why the heck should you start tracking now? Well, first of all, if you catch yourself making decisions based on feelings, you should probably do this. So some examples of this would be if you see that the bank account is really high in the amount of money that's in there, you decide it's a good idea to buy equipment or to invest back in the business because you feel like things are going well because there's money in the bank account. But that could catch you because you make that equipment purchase and make these investments, but then there's not as much jobs scheduled later on, and there might be problems with jobs in the future where it catches you. And that's because we weren't tracking. We didn't keep ourselves ahead of the issues that are to come. And there's all sorts of other examples about how we make decisions based on feelings as business owners. Like, for instance, if we feel like sales are low, then we might feel like one of our salespeople is doing a bad job. But the problem could actually be that we haven't done a good enough job passing down the best practice information from our brains to those salespeople so they can actually do a good job because we weren't tracking. We were just feeling like he's not doing a good job. If you have or your margins, if you feel like again, if you feel like you aren't profiting well enough on your work, then that's a big sign you should probably track. And then if you're unsure why you aren't closing or busy or where your money is going, I mean, this is like anything where you're trying to investigate a problem in the business. You don't investigate a problem by doing guesswork and figuring out what the solution is. You figure it out by tracking. And again, for a lot of you people, this is uncomfortable because you already have a ton going on and you've been having this business for quite some time, and getting into the weeds and investigating is not comfortable. It's not our forte. But as Tillman talked about, this is what the best CEOs and business owners are willing to do in order to get to that next level. And so what should you track? That's another big question. There's all sorts of things you could track, like it says here, everything. But here's some of the basics that you could take note on. You've got your core KPIs. These are things that are just high-level numbers that help make sure the ship is staying afloat. What are your weekly revenues? What are your revenues in general? That's a good thing to always know. How many leads are you getting for your business? Because no matter how great a team you have or how efficient your operations are, you need leads. So how many leads are you getting? And then based on how many leads you get, how many appointments are we setting? Because you could get leads all day, every day, but if we're not following up with them and we're not contacting them, as we talked about in the sales process a week or two ago, then we aren't scheduling appointments and we aren't closing jobs. And when we close jobs, that's when we get money after producing the work. And so this core KPI tracker is actually going to be the key thing that we look at together in our breakout rooms. And we're going to make sure to work with each of you business owners on, if you don't have one that you're using, we'll get you one. But if you do have one you're using, we're going to look at it together and make sure that we're really following through with it and help you be able to make decisions based off of the numbers. Because that's a big key too, is a lot of business owners hear about tracking, they think it's good, but then when they see reports, it's another thing to try and make decisions based on those reports. So we're going to help walk you through those, hold your hand through the process. But here's some of the other numbers you'll track once you get good at these core KPIs. Individual leads, where each lead is at in the sales process. There's for remodelers, a lot of times what we'll do is we have an individual lead tracker where each lead is on a line item. And we track specifically what the progress is in their stage of the sales process. And then if you have salespeople, you follow up with them and they are accountable to updating what the status is. And a lot of CRMs and softwares will do this for you, but the important part is that there's some consistent accountability in making sure that software or that process is updated. You also have technician performance. Because we gotta win the work, but we also gotta make sure the work's getting done well, so we can get good reviews at the end of it and not lose money. And so this is when you track, how much revenue they actually produce, and particularly for plumbers, heating and air guys that are going out for service, how many estimates are given, jobs are closed, and then furthermore, how many callbacks are happening. How many times are our guys called back to fix something? Because if you make a habit of doing that regularly, that's not great. And that takes away from your schedule of work you could be filling for more revenues and more profits. So technician performance is a big deal, even for just general laborers. You talk about big construction projects, you have an estimated amount of days that you want to work on some project, and you update it barring weather and Mother Nature. But we also need to track and make sure that if we set 6 days for a whole team to do a massive project, where are we at with that? Did we finish it in 7 days? Finish it in 5? That's a good thing to track. We're actually being profitable with what we estimated. This is the power of tracking. You get to have all these answers that you've always wondered in the back of your mind. And then income and expenses. This is one of the things I particularly see from business owners that they do the least, is they don't set aside a timeout to ask themselves whether they are doing well financially, whether they've reviewed the expenses that are going on, they review the expenses that are coming up, and they're making sure that the income that they're scheduled to earn and they have earned will cover the expenses and provide them that profits. Let me tell you, if you have a set up time to review income and expenses, even just bi-weekly, you're going to have so much more financial peace as a business owner. Because like what Hawk talked about with his sales leads, you actually know what's going on with your finances instead of wondering, I hope we make it at the end of the month. And that's not a fun reality to live. And so anyways, cash flow is another big one too. What are my margins and where's my money going? That's another part of the income and expenses here. So what should I track? As the title says, everything, because you can track everything. And a big little phrase that you can use is that what's measured is treasured. What's measured is treasured. If you care about something, you care about the progress of how it's going, you're going to measure it. And that's a good lesson for just anything in life. I mean, let's think about, fitness, working out. I mean, the best personal trainers for fitness, they're going to want you to measure the progress of how much you're lifting in pounds every single week. Are you going to your workouts every single week? What's your nutrition like? All of that is tracking. And we understand this to be a big deal for fitness. So business owners, why aren't we doing this for our businesses? So like I said, where are we going to start? We're going to start with the core KPIs, these lead tracking KPIs. And this is the core KPI tracker that we provide to business owners whenever we really get into the weeds, start getting into the weeds of tracking and sales. And so if you don't have this, or this is not something you're familiar with, I would reach out to the coach you have your breakout room with, and they'll make a copy for you in that meeting. But I'd like to just go over the core areas of this to explain a little bit how to go through this. And then in the breakout rooms, the coaches will be much more specific with the questions. So first of all, this starts with the annual goal. Where do you want to go with your business? And for all of us, we'd say, oh, well, we want to grow. That's why we're working with you guys. Well, yes, you want to grow, but where do you want to grow to? Because if we're just spinning our wheels and grinding away, we're just doing that aimlessly if there's not a target. So you set a target. What's the annual goal? For this company, it's $300,000. And so how that matters for this sheet is it's actually set up here. Hold on. It's actually set up where the annual goal is reflected on this right side here, and it breaks down on a monthly goal and a weekly goal of what revenues need to be produced consistently in order to get to that annual goal, which is pretty cool because then it breaks down over to the left how many leads you need to get, how many appointments you need to set, and how many jobs need to be completed in order to get to these revenue amounts. And another thing with the numbers is you're needing to know what your average ticket total is in order to figure this out, because if your ticket total, they've got your ticket total as $591 per job they do on average. If their average is $400 or lower, then they're going to need more leads and more jobs to be completed. But if they're able to raise that average ticket, then that's less of a burden for their team to get to this revenue goal, which is pretty cool to figure out. But a lot of us haven't figured that, choose to, because we don't track. So anyways, the annual goal is a big deal here. Next thing is the conversion rate. The conversion rate in our terms is the conversion of leads that end up being appointments or estimates that we write. So out of all the leads, all the people that want to work with us, all the people that you reach out to work with, how many are deciding to say, yeah, I want to have an appointment with you? Or, yeah, write me up an estimate. I'm interested in your service. And that's correlated to that difference there with this percentage, where according to this tracker, if it's an 80% conversion rate, meaning that 80% of the time we can schedule an appointment or get an estimate written with the lead, then that means we need 14 leads in order to get to 11 appointments. Now, if our conversion rate, like I said, is lower, and maybe we're not as attentive to the phones or not as quick to respond, or our sales script for these inbound calls are not as great, then that percentage could turn into 60 or 50%. Which means if it, like for instance, if it's 50% and we're trying to get to 11 appointments, that means we need 22 leads instead of 14 leads, which that's a big difference right there. That means you got to spend more money in marketing. It means you got to really work a lot harder to get the same results when you don't need to. And then one of the couple last items here is the closing rate. How many of these appointments are turning into jobs? And that's a big deal too, because if you have a harder time closing jobs, that means you not only need more appointments, but you also need more leads. And so doing a good job at the appointment, selling yourself, knowing why you're valuable. This brings back the conversation about one sheets and knowing why you stand out versus the competition. That helps a whole lot with the bottom line. Because if your closing rate is not 90%, and if it's not at some satisfactory percentage to get to you to those revenue numbers, then you're going to have to work a lot harder. And then finally, you'll see this breakdown here on the right with the revenues and current ticket total here, where the revenues is divided by the total jobs done gives you that average ticket total. And so just this spreadsheet alone is super revealing about what is going on in your business. And you're able to make a lot of effective decisions based on it. And what we're going to, like I said, spend time with in the breakout rooms is we're going to spend time going into your individual spreadsheets, answering all of your questions about tracking. If you haven't gotten started, we'll make copies for you and help you get started, because we want everyone to walk away from our time today being able to confidently know how to track the details in their business, and then even helping them set aside what time each week they're going to do this. So it'll be really powerful when we're able to do that. So I think, Bryce, this is your cue to break us out, right?